going on, everyone? So today we're going to be doing a renovation house video. I've done one on my garage, I've done one on the kitchen, and today we're going to be doing a renovation video on my living room slash hallway. So I've been done with my living room actually probably for like 6 months now, but like I just haven't quite finished my hallway because of circumstances. I got most of it done, but not all of it. But with everything that's kind of come up with my other renovation projects and stuff, I'm not really sure with how it's gonna go, like when I'm gonna actually finish the hallway totally. So I just thought I would show you what I have done on my hallway and living room so far. So I never really know what order to do this in, if I'm supposed to like show the transformation at first or wait till the very end, but I really don't think people are gonna like watch all the way to the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you just like a little bit of a taste of like what the renovation looks like, and then I'll go into detail about what I had to do and the cost for it all. And just a reminder here that with the prices on everything I'm about to talk about, as well as me and my dad did everything ourselves, so that's why it's taken so long, and it might be cheaper than if you have someone do it. So my living room was actually the very first thing I started on when I moved in. I was just like so eager. I bought my house in 2020. I was just like so eager, right, to do something to it, to like renovate it. So I started off by like trying to rip off all this textured wallpaper. I'd bought, a scraper and like a thing and a roller or whatever, and like gel spray. I don't know, like basically it went horribly, right? Like I tried peeling it off. I did a whole video on it and it was awful. Also, what the heck is up with my hair? Like, who let me do this? How many of you watching this video right now saw this video and did not say anything to me about my hair? But anyway, yeah, I ripped this all off and it went horribly and it looked awful, and then I didn't do renovations for a long time on it to finish it up. So basically, if you're not gonna finish a project, don't start tearing stuff apart, especially in a living space like that where everyone sees when they first walk in. So after that whole wallpaper thing, I decided to tear down this wall in the middle of my living room. It just made it all very congested and tight. It made the hallway really narrow. It made the living room smaller. It didn't make sense, didn't need to be there. So I decided to knock that baby out to try and make a more open concept living room, just easier access to the kitchen and all that, not walking down these small hallways. So naturally I did this super late at night after I came home from work, and I tried not to use my hammer. I tried not to be loud for my neighbors. Tried using my hand and punching it, it didn't work. So after I knocked that bad boy down, it left me with a kind of hole in the ceiling where the wall was, and a hole in the floor where the wall was, and it ended up connecting to like a wall in the kitchen, so there was like a little gap going in the kitchen. So fast forward a couple years after a few projects, and I got back to working on this living room. So the first order of business was to rip up that nasty ass carpet that was in the hallway and in the living room, and of course this revealed a bunch of nasty linoleum, asbestos ridden tile, probably. I don't know. I wore a mask when I tore it up just in case, because it is an old house. We also had to chip out the ceramic tile at the entrance, which was a pain because that left a bunch of like hard mortar or whatever, and then we had to like sand in there with grinders, and a normal sander wouldn't work, so I had to use like an angle grinder, diamond grinder, whatever. It was just like this whole thing, it was awful. And then I had to go back through with some cement skinner and like fill in all the little chips and dips and cracks and all that stuff. So turning out the carpet actually revealed a new problem. Basically my living room floor was shorter than my hallway floor by like 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Basically it needed to be raised up, and it was the same thing at the other end of my hallway. So basically I had to raise the floor up and fix that, but we will get to that in a little bit. So before I did that, I went ahead and ripped off the drywall on that entrance door where I had the really bad wallpaper, because I was like, instead of trying to take the time to fix this wall and all this stuff, it's gonna be cheaper, like $30 to just re-drywall this thing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. At this point, I was just kind of like looking at my wall, and there's like this closet from my spare room that stuck out into the living room, just like a little bit. Like when you walk in the door, basically you kind of like see the wall sticking out a little bit, and it was just kind of like there, and I was just like looking at him like, you know what? Why don't we just knock this thing out? Right? Like I'm turning that spare bedroom into an office, so I don't really need to walk like a little closet. So I was just like, all right, let's knock that bitch down. So we ripped that closet out actually to make it a, smooth wall when you walk in. That way I can put a big old TV up there on the wall. And then also my 2 closets in the hallway, they were both all pegboard, so I had to rip those things out because I was going to drywall the inside of those as well. But before I drywall on the entrance wall, we did have to frame it in so that it could be perfectly straight. And then in the hallway on the 2 closet doors, they did have 8-foot doors, metal doors all the way to the ceiling. Like didn't like how they looked, so we did put a new frame in so that we could put smaller bifolds in there. Also, another thing we did real quick in the hallway that I'll mention is that we did widen the bathroom door frame. So I had to do some drywall work there because, you know, my door for the bathroom was like so small, you know, I was just like, because I work out, I couldn't even like walk through the door, right? So we widened that baby up to do like an actual normal size. So with all the framing that I just talked about, that brings us to our first price point, and that would be the wood that it costs to do all the framing, and that would be $90. So before we put in the drywall, we had to run some wires. You know, I put in like a light in the middle of that living room because there wasn't one before. Although I am going to change that light because I really don't like the one that I got. I didn't know anything about light temperature or anything at the time. But we also ran wire into that entrance wall because I was planning on mounting a TV there. So we went ahead and put a outlet up top and then an outlet at the bottom. We put an outlet in the hallway, put a light in the closet. And then we also put another light switch at the end of my hallway because I only had one light switch at one end, and that kind of didn't make sense because you couldn't walk down the hallway with the light on basically when it was time to go to bed or anything. And for all of that, the wire cost about $50, so it's kind of expensive when you think about it, but it was definitely worth it. Next comes the drywall. So everything that I had said I ripped out before, the entry wall, the closets, drywalled it all. So with all the drywall and the couple metal corners that I had to put on in 2 places, that cost was around $80. And then next comes the really fun part of, you know, the mudding, the sanding, and then mudding and sanding, and then mudding and sanding, and then mudding, you know, the real fun stuff. So don't forget that I did mud that huge gap in the ceiling that was there from the old wall. So after I did that, I went ahead and primed everything. I went ahead and painted everything. So with the mud, the primer, the paint, and that includes the paint for the ceiling and the trim as well. All of that came to about $142. For the paint, I did kind of go with 2 tones. I went with a lighter gray for the walls. It was actually a little bit lighter than I wanted it to be, but you know, I wasn't gonna buy one of those $10 sample colors because I'm like, I can almost get a gallon for that. So I just kind of went with it. You know, it is what it is, and just learn from your mistakes and keep moving. But then I also put in an accent wall that was really dark on that entry wall, and I think it looks pretty nice, modern, I guess. I don't know, I'm not really a designer. So next I went around in the living room and everything, and I changed out all of the old outlets and put on new ones. I took the switches, the light switches, and put in new ones, put in new covers for all of them. So with all that, that was about $45, and that includes all of like the little metal boxes that are behind the drywall that we installed. After painting my room, I then noticed, hey, my doors are tan, which I guess they painted that color to match the old wall style, but it did not look good with my new wall style, and neither did the gold plated hardware for the doors. So I went ahead and I painted the doors white, got new hinges, locks, handles, just new hardware in like a nickel color. So all of that together was about $95. New locks and all that stuff is actually a lot more expensive than I thought it would be. To match that new nickel color, I changed the entrance light and the hallway light to a more nickel color since I went with a gray kind of scheme. And I put a light in the closet. So altogether, those lights were about $64. Now that we had basically the whole like top of everything done, I went ahead and started working on the bottom. And know that my whole living room was basically tore apart for an entire year with like no floor other than just the subfloor. So it was not a very inviting or comfortable living space, really. I definitely was not impressing anyone that I invited over. So anyway, I raised the floor up in the hallway and living room, like I said, with some particle board. That cost me about $296. And next we get to the fun part of laying down vinyl planking. So evidently when laying planking, you're supposed to have the planks parallel to like light coming in from a window so that it kind of makes your room bigger. I ended up doing the opposite of that because we were worried about the hallway and having a sliver like be, you know, this long on the flooring. So we didn't want that to happen. So we ended up making it perpendicular, but it still looks good in my opinion. That luxury vinyl planking cost me $975, so it was pretty expensive, but it did come with the padding already on it, so we didn't have to buy any of that separate. I also then put in new floor vents. After that, we just kind of trimmed everything out, the door frames, the floor, the window, all that, and that cost me about $232. Finally, we go over to that hallway closet. I painted some bifold doors and we put those bad boys in there. That cost me about $168. We then put in some wire racking inside of the closet, and that cost me $124. And that honestly finishes everything up. There is one more cost category that I'm just gonna call miscellaneous. So that just includes painter's tape and smoke alarms and floor vents, those kind of things, any screws that I use. And all of that comes to about $47. So in total, the whole cost of this project was $2,408. But since I shopped at Menards, I got an 11% rebate on everything, so that brought my total down to $2,143. Honestly, adding this all up, I was kind of shocked. I didn't think it cost me that much to do my living room, but it really wasn't bad until we got into the flooring stuff, you know what I mean? And this wasn't like all at once, you know, it was like over a year of buying things here and there, so it wasn't really that bad. I didn't just drop $2,000 on my living room all at once, and it would be a lot more if I had someone else do it for me. So all in all, I still think it was a win. I really like the way that it looks now. I'm not quite done with my hallway, like I said. I didn't do the closet at the very end, and I've only laid flooring about halfway because I plan on flowing the flooring into my bathroom. So I have to renovate my bathroom before I can do that, which I'm doing right now, and I'm almost done. But you know, it's just one of those things, and I don't know when I'm gonna get to the end of the hallway, whatever. So I just thought I would make this video now. So basically, again, this is what $2,000 can do to your living room. And yeah, I hope you learned something. Hope that you can get an idea about renovation costs if you want to do something to yours. And with that, I will see you guys next time.